continuing on with our theme of celebration, I've got three other speakers with us now who are going to tell us about the groups that they're involved with. And they're talking about some kind of new media and also festivals, which are a fantastic way to involve people in their local community. And it's one of the ways the Dublin City Council is changing the way that it's going to deliver a lot of things to people and across the 5 neighbourhoods across the city. So the festivals are very important. So with us we have Roisin from the Five Lamps Festival, Susan, who's from Citywide, which is a fantastic offshoot of Dublin Community Television, which enabled people to make television programmes and discover how to tell people about their city and things that are happening. And finally, I have Robin here from The Exchange, which is a venue which most of us who have been involved in the arts in some way know about, because it's a fantastic open space where people can hire space to show films, they can hire space to have exhibitions, and they can also, when I say hire, it's about putting their name down. He's going to talk about that a little bit. So I'm going to start with Roisin. I'm going to start to my right this time. So Roisin, would you like to tell us about the Five Lamps Arts Festival?
Hello everybody, and it's been a fascinating afternoon listening to all the people that we've heard before the break. I set up the Five Lamps Arts Festival about 2008 to 2009, around that time. I had a conversation with Sinead Connolly from Dublin City Council. She was one of the arts officers in Dublin City Council, and I said there should be an arts festival in the area where I work. I work as a teacher on the North Strand in further education. So Sinead said that's a brilliant idea, and the Dublin City Council will support you. So I started it then because she gave me the go ahead and do it. And I started then, and our aim really, I suppose, in the Arts Festival is to have it area-based, so that the people that work in the area, the people that live in the area, and the people that pass through it every day, because we're right at the heart of the city communications. We've got a Connolly Station, main streets going through. We now have the new bridge crossing the Liffey, so we've got a lot of through traffic, and people come to that area and they know the area. But a lot of people would have an image of the North Inner City as it is recently. We've been told it's the dirtiest area in the country, and that's a problem that we have to live with. But the work of the festival has, over the last few years, we've engaged with the local community. We have many events that bring different parts of the community together. So over the last few years, with the support of Dublin City Council all the way through funding, we have set up, for example, 2 years ago, I was invited to help with the St. Patrick's Day festival, or St. Patrick's Day parade in Sheriff Street. So now the Five Lamps Festival organises the Patrick's Day Festival in Sheriff Street. We also help to organise their Halloween parade in Sheriff Street. We also help to organise and help out reviving the GAA club in Sheriff Street. So a lot of our work is based around the Sheriff Street area. During the year, everybody that is involved in the festival, and everybody are the local people and also volunteers. They're the biggest part of our work, the volunteers. We have volunteers from all over the world who come in, and they're living in Dublin, they're living in the area, and they want to give some time to learning English, I suppose, but also getting to know their neighbours, and through the festival they've done that. We've got volunteers from Brazil who are designing our website, volunteers from Italy who are organising events throughout the festival. Our artists, we always pay the artists the going rate if we can. And that's really important for the artists. But of course then the artists are working with the community, and there's a certain amount of fundraising that goes on right through the year, and that's a huge amount of what we do in the festival. It's an area-based festival, so we try to keep it in the Dublin 1 area, and we've got a lot of support now from, for example, this year we'll have a concert in the Hugh Lane Gallery. We have 3 events in the Writers' Centre, the Irish Writers' Centre. We will have events. Our opening night will be in Custom House, which is a great building, and there's great acoustic there. That's on the 27th of March. In the building, the headline act that night will be a singer from the North Wall area, Shaz Oya, and she'll be joined by 2 choir groups, Georgian Choir and Tanta, and they're all working within the community, so that's a big element of what we do. But at the same time, we would have professional artists working with us and exhibiting with us. Last year, we had an exhibition in the lab, and that was to bring together people from the area, from the artists living in the area who are professional artists. And this year, we're using our building, the college on North Strand, where we're going to have artists from the Fire Station Gallery doing installations, but also professional artists that live in the area who will come in and enhance the building with their art, like Stephen Lockman and Cora Cummins. The main thing that I find through the year is the support that we get from the local people. They're interested in what we do and they get involved, but it is completely voluntary. Everybody that is involved in the festival. This year I think we're getting 1 production manager, but everybody else, apart from the artists, is giving up their time, and that's the huge thing for the festival. And also we're always looking for ways to get money. I know that everybody in this business is looking for ways to get money. Funders that give to you, you have to learn a certain kind of, it's not a dialect, it's a certain kind of a new language to fill in all these application forms that you're faced with. And as well as that, you don't always know what they want from you. We want their money, and what they want back is an entirely, I don't know what the word is. We're still searching for the word, what they want from us. You have to fulfill their criteria, but every time I feel like I'm going to Weight Watchers almost when I'm going to fill in a form, because I know I'm not going to fit, and I have to try and make what we're doing fit into the funders' criteria. Having said that, we have had huge support from Dublin City Council. We're looking at a new funder. At the moment we've applied for funding through the IPB, the insurance group, insurance companies. But that's something that I think every group that works in the community needs a huge amount of help with. We need to know when they're looking for you to fill in the form and how you fill it in. The festival opens on the 27th of March, and we'd be delighted to have as many people here who are working in the arts to come along to that night. It'll be a great night in Custom House. And also, if you're interested in the future in getting involved or having an event linking with us, please look at our website and apply. We're open all year round for ideas. And our biggest thing is making connections. That's the theme for this year. Last year we looked at the lockout as an underlying theme for our festival, but this year, instead of looking at the 1914 war, which was one of the ideas we had, or Brian Boru dying in Clontarf, which was another idea we had, our big thing this year is making connections. And so a month ago, because of my involvement and because of the festival's involvement with the local community, they asked us to help the local GAA club revive, and that's getting into the community, and I think we're doing a good job, but we need more volunteers and more people who will come to events as well, spread the word about local festivals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roisin. So I first met Susan to my right here because I saw an email about getting involved in a event for, I think it was International Women's Day. And there was what Dublin Community Television were doing was allowing people just to get involved and learn how to present programmes, how to work the camera, how to work the sound. So from that, Susan then went on to develop one of the most innovative things, which was an offshoot of Dublin Community Television, which is Citywide. So would you like to tell us a little bit about Citywide and also how people find you in your estimation?
I'll keep it brief because I hate public speaking, so I'll just ramble on and bear with me anyway. But I joined DCTV as a volunteer kind of now over a year and a half ago, and I just always had an interest in media, but I never had any formal training or anything like that, so I just kind of got out with my camcorder a few months before I joined, and I recorded protests and gigs and stuff like that. So when I joined, they had this program called Citywide, which was a mix of volunteers and interns. And so Kieran Moore, the manager, said, oh, look, this programme is just beginning, do you want to get involved? So I went along to the meeting, and we still have our Monday meetings at 12 in the check-in, if anybody's interested. So basically it started off at about 4 or 5 of us sitting around the table on a Monday, kind of like, what did we cover? Like, so kind of the remit was events and people in and around the Dublin city area. So kind of what began as 4 or 5 people sitting around, which was a mix of volunteers and interns, kind of grew into, at one stage I think we had like 25 people or something, you know, and we've covered everything. So Roisin is talking there, and I don't know if she remembers me, but our paths do cross last year at the Sheriff Street, St. Patrick's parade and the Dockers, exactly. And I didn't get down to cover the 5 lamps this year, so I'm in trouble there. But we've really now covered everything. But I suppose the kind of the bedrock of it, or the great thing that was about it, and it still is about it, is the peer cooperative learning that goes on. Because like myself, I walked in with like absolutely no media training. Like I said, I just got out there on the streets with the camcorder and that was it. But because we had kind of the mix of interns, so we had people coming from like colleges that were doing like film studies and film courses and editing courses, and we had another guy on a job bridge scheme as well, like who had the camera skills, and we all basically learned off each other. And so now everybody in Citywide can do everything, because with it being community and voluntary as well, no money, you end up having to do everything. But I really do think that it is a great gateway into maybe a media career. Like, it may be kind of very much entry level, but it's still a foot in the door, because it does make you familiar with the actual making of media, the camera, the sound, the lighting, the editing. That was the big thing, the editing. And like, it's just, I mean, it's been great. So I think, well, like I say, we've been going nearly now a year and a half, more so, I think, is it?
2, I think.
Yeah, nearly coming up to 2 now, it'd be another 3 or 4 months. And I suppose like our greatest achievement so far was that we were working with the Big Issue, and we kind of, we built up great links with them, and they have like, they have a homeless soccer league that they run here. And then there's also the Homeless World Cup. So we were very honoured when they asked us to go over to Poland with them during the summer to cover the Irish team's progress. And I have to say that we were the only Irish media to cover it. And RTE turned up halfway through, and they were making a documentary, and they were sick to know, because we were filming every day and we were sending home segments like every day. And I suppose I should say that the segments are only kind of like 3 minutes long. And we kind of do just give like a kind of a quick rundown of, as I said, events, people that are taking place here in Dublin. But it is a great way of, you know, getting an overview of Dublin.
And if people want to get, so is there still an email they can contact?
There is, yeah. What's it called? Like, so we changed it, but it's citywidetv@gmail.com. So that's how you get in touch. And was there something else that you asked me to cover and I didn't go?
No, I think you didn't say enough about how Citywide actually gave a voice to Dublin, which is just fantastic, because you put on RTE at times and you sort of, you wonder, is anything happening at all? And yet, as one of the other speakers said earlier on, it's a city where there's loads happening.
Well, I was, really surprised, because I suppose when I started, I know it's the capital city, so there's always something going on, but I really was surprised about how much is going on, and how much, like, on the community, you know, on the ground is going on, the grassroots levels kind of stuff, like, you know. So yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And finally, we have Robin Kerfola here from The Exchange. The Exchange is in Temple Bar, and it's under threat at the moment because of sort of different value systems about where the arts are going, I think is the best way of describing it. So just tell us a little bit about The Exchange and how people can use the space? I mean, I said hire, but I meant just kind of organise to use the room.
So my name's Robin and I'm a volunteer with Exchange Dublin. Exchange Dublin is a all ages collective art space, no worries. So what that means is we're all ages, so that basically there's no sort of, there's no particular kind of age group that we focus on, but we try to widen the range of people who come into the space. And it means a few very specific things, like the space is no alcohol, no drugs. We try to make it very kind of safe for the people who enter the space to be and interact with each other. So we tend to have quite young children and some people who have seen a lot come through the doors. And we're a volunteer space and we're completely run by volunteers. There's no one paid to manage the space or to organise the space or to keep the doors open. And even with that, we open the space 7 days a week and as close to 365 days a year as we possibly can, which is a fairly major challenge for a volunteer organisation. It's collectively run. There isn't a manager, there isn't a hierarchy, there isn't a group of people who make the decisions. The people who come along to the meetings on a Wednesday night are the people who decide what happens in the space and how the space is shaped. And that's a radical idea, and every time I kind of get up and tell people that, they sort of immediately go, how can that possibly work? How can you possibly on a Wednesday night decide how a space week by week runs? But it's worked for 5 years, and it's an incredible experiment in terms of seeing what you can do when the people who are interested in the space are the people who make the decisions. So I wrote some things in my hand in case I forgot. Yeah, we're a participant art space, which means that we don't generally kind of present art as a finished, polished, come into our room and watch this thing. We try to run things or allow things to happen in the space because we ourselves don't generally run a lot. We tend to we're enablers, so we allow other people to use the space and put things on. And there's probably groups in the room, hopefully, who have kind of used the space and had an opportunity to do that. But we're participative in that. The things that we really like are arts that people can walk in and actually create and be a part of and, you know, put their own stamp on. We do exhibitions, we do put on plays every so often, but the bits that we're the most interested in are where people come into the space to create. The space was set up with that kind of aim in mind. Back 5 years ago, there weren't a lot of places, still today, there aren't a lot of places in Dublin where you can go and kind of talk about the arts, experience the arts, create without, even talking about the arts, there's very few places you can go without having to buy a pint or a coffee, you know, and sit down with a group of people who know loosely possibly and put together something that's more solid and start a group or start an organisation or do something together. And that's what the space really allows, is that kind of wander in and set something up. So along with being...
Would you like to highlight the petition that you want people to sign at the moment?
Yeah. Well, the petition, possibly the boat's been missed on that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So the space closed last Friday, and it closed because of pressure from residents via Dublin City Council. And we're happy enough that Dublin City Council have basically said that we're going to be closed for between 1 and 3 months. We're not entirely sure. And their thinking is that they want us to close and reorganise a bit to deal with some issues that they perceive that we have. And we do have issues as any kind of space that's that's run like ours is. I'll hasten to add that for the past 3 years we've had absolutely no funding. We get a reduced rent from Dublin City Council, but we don't. Part of our ethos is that if somebody wants to run a free event in Exchange, we don't charge them to run an event in Exchange. Somebody who wants to pay a paid kind of paying at the door event, we take a donation from them towards the running of the space. But in general, that means that the space runs on a very, very tight budget because there's no income bar donations. We're completely donations run. But we don't have many outgoings either because no one's paid to do anything in the space. So we were closed ostensibly because there's an antisocial issue in Temple Bar, and we were perhaps an easy target in terms of closing us down. So the outcome of it is that we're hopefully restructuring at the moment. We're going to go through a little process in the next few months where we kind of sit down with Temple Bar Cultural Trust and try to work out some of the issues that they seem to have, and hopefully get the place reopened. There is a possibility that we'll have to move from the location where we are, which would be a shame because it's a great location. I think we're the only art space in Temple Bar, which is a bit of a shock. Certainly we're the only art space where you can walk by and see art happening. But it isn't possibly all negative. I think we're sort of glad of the opportunity to kind of sort some things out and hopefully come back better and stronger.
And I think it's time that Dublin City Council perhaps looked at having more spaces that are open in a similar way across the city, because it's grand for people to know of the exchange, but a lot of people again don't know about it. So
We've been lucky over the last few years in that I think tens of thousands of people have come through the exchange, and we've run thousands of events over the past 5 years, and a lot of our kind of support is word of mouth. You know, people who go to the events bring other people along. I think it's possibly a bit mad that as a social space in Temple Bar we were closed, with the kind of the main cause being social or antisocial behaviour. And when I say antisocial behaviour, basically they're worried that the kind of all ages, so the kids that come to the space, are causing trouble outside of the space on the streets around Temple Bar. Not particularly that the space itself is engaged in antisocial behaviour, but that we're attracting people who possibly are. We sort of think that's a bit odd, considering the amount of antisocial behaviour created by the pubs in Temple Bar. We're a non-alcohol space, and we're a very strictly non-alcohol space, so it's sort of possibly illogical to shut us down because of antisocial behaviour.
well, I certainly hope that you get to reform again. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.